Welcome back to All for United. We are live ahead of a big night of Europa League action. We'll know whether we top the group or finish second and have to play that qualifying round against the Champions League team come the start of next year after all this World Cup biz is done. Stu, Dan and Reese are on with me tonight. Lads, hope you're good. We'll talk about the game. It feels weird saying that, by the way. We're like, 4 games away from the World Cup break? It is bonkers. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it.
World Cup.
Huh?
He's looking forward to the World Cup.
Nah.
No.
I will do when it comes around, but
it will be one of those. It's like when it starts, yeah, all right. But in the meantime, I'm just like, I just want to, this whole mid-season thing, I just can't get used to it. Anyway, get in the live chat, guys. Share the link, hit the like button. I've come straight from football, which is why I'm wearing a tight top and this number. I've got Zlatan on the back of it. I didn't fucking play like him tonight, though.
Yeah.
So come and get involved. Let's start with it, Stu. First question, really, and I'll ask you guys this, because now we're at, like, so to speak, the business part of the Europa League. It'd be interesting to know, when you was looking at the season as a whole at the start of it, was you looking at the Europa League as a competition for United to make a mark in? And if so, how would you rate our Europa League campaign so far?
No and rubbish. Quite frankly, I couldn't really give a damn about the Europa League. The FA Cup a lot more than Europa League, and also the Carabao Cup. I was looking for us to put 10 wins on the bounce. That would be progression for me. That's difficult for any team to put 10 wins on the bounce together, but that would have shown progression to me. I'm not interested in whether or not we go through in the Europa League, because we've lost to Sociedad and made life very, very difficult against teams that we should be, brushing by. So, some fans will look at his progression. I'm not 100% sure. I think he's done really, really well. I think he's finally found a formation. He's finally found a starting 11 that he's happy with. But with regards to would I be happy if we're in the Europa League? Yeah, absolutely. It guarantees you Champions League. I think we're playing well enough at this point in time, at this juncture of the season, to make top 3. Not top 2, but top 3. But that will be different when we come back from the World Cup, because these players, he's got a difficult choice as Ten Hag, because if some of our players go through to the final, we actually land back in England 5 days before our next home game. So does he play the likes of Casemiro? If Casemiro makes it there, does he play, Maguire? If England miraculously make it there, we obviously know they won't, but if they do. So he's got a difficult job, really. And I can see why he's very, very keen to make sure that these 12 or 13 players who are not going to the World Cup are playing friendly matches, because he's going to rely on those heavily come the restart of the campaign. So, hit and miss. I don't think we've been great in the Europa League, so it wasn't for me. I was looking for 10 straight wins in the Premier League. That would have been progression for me.
Dan, what about you? What were your expectations at the start of the season looking at Europa League, and how have we compared to those expectations?
Well, I personally think that every United, I can't speak for most United fans actually, I'd say for me personally that when the season started, I didn't really look at the Europa League. I didn't look at top 4 or anything like that. I just went in this season and said that even if we came 8th and got knocked out of the Europa League, but we saw progress from Ten Hag and saw exciting football from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Rangnick, and we saw that Ten Hag's kind of like what Arteta did for Arsenal, where he was very much park the bus type football. But then obviously, as we've seen what Arsenal are doing this season, they're very strong, they're very attacking. So if I saw progress from Ten Hag, I would have been happy with whatever happened this season regardless. But obviously my expectations have been blown out the water. I think we're doing relatively well. I feel like we could push for the Europa League title. I feel like it would be an amazing achievement for Ten Hag to go deep into a trophy in his first season. I'm obviously challenging for top 4. So would it be nice for us to get Champions League football at the end of the season? Absolutely. Whether that's winning the Europa League or getting top 4.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for all of us, isn't it? It's Champions League football once again. Reece, what about you? Did are you different to these guys? Did you see the Europa League as a competition that we should take seriously and as our best hope for Champions League football at the start of the season? And if so, how have we compared on this run so far?
Yeah, for me, it's a competition we should take seriously. I think Ten Hag in his press conference today was kind of making that quite clear that it's something that he wants to take seriously. He wants to win every game, irrespective of whether it's in Europe or, I suppose, domestically. But could it have been a bit of a distraction for us coming into this season, where our priority really was kind of to build upon something and ensure that we were going in the right direction, and was the extra games going to be a bit of a hindrance to that? I look at it now, and I thought that at the end of last season, coming into when we knew we were going to be in the Europa League, I thought that might be a bit of a sort of a burden for us. But I think it's kind of proved to be the opposite. Really, it's been healthy for us in terms of getting certain players minutes. I think the game tomorrow is a big test for Ten Hag. I think it's his biggest game so far as a Man United manager. I think in terms of the game in itself, the fact that we've got to win and try and top the group, the fact there's something riding on it, the fact that he might have to play some of his bigger and better players in the game rather than resting them might be is a big challenge to him as well. So there's finally a bit of pressure on Ten Hag with this one. Not a massive amount of pressure. I think if we win it 1-0 and we don't progress as leaders of the group, I think we play a couple more games and it might be against sort of stiffer opposition, but it's just we try and win those games. But I think, I don't know, I've kind of enjoyed it. I think that the competition these days in Europe is getting stronger. I think in terms of some of the teams that might be coming down to the latter stages of the Europa League, but Barcelona, Juve have just got third position, for example. So some big teams coming down and potentially we'll have to face. So that's good in certain sort of ways, and I think it's where we want to be. I think at the end of last season, nobody really kind of expected us to be challenging for a title. But when you look at the teams in this competition, Man United should be, regardless of last season, with the squad that we had and obviously the improvement we've made anyway, we should now be thinking about going to the real latter ends of this competition and really staking a claim to get into the final, I think, to be quite honest. But I've enjoyed it. Ben. It's been great. I mean, I've been to a couple of games at Old Trafford and they've been really good atmospheres. And I've quite enjoyed it, to be fair. So
the one thing I've noticed is that Europa League attendance this year at Old Trafford has actually been really, really good. In previous seasons, when we've done UEFA Cup games at Old Trafford, you've been looking at like 50,000, some nights 40,000, where actually we've been doing 76,000 like consistently for the Europa League games. So I think that just goes to show how much the fans are even receptive of wanting and pushing Ten Hag and the team to be able to go quite far in this competition and bring a trophy home. I think the support during the Europa League games has been incredible. The atmosphere has been great. I mean, it's interesting looking through, sort of the journey so far. It's been a weird one for me because when we saw the group, it would have been easy for all of us to turn around and go, oh, Sociedad's a tricky game, but Ammonia and Sheriff, we'll turn those guys over. I think we sat on the group stage stream, didn't we, Stu? And I think maybe you were on that as well, Reece. And we turned around and we went, actually, the trickier games are against the teams that are unknown quantities. Like, you can take the league for what it is, but when you play against teams that we're going to be the biggest fixture of most of those players' lives, they've got more to play for. And they're always really difficult games. The grounds are sometimes tricky. You never know if you're playing on the Astro 4G or actually real football pitches or even in real stadiums with, and some of the pitches have been awful. So, a lot of unknown quantities, a lot of, difficult moments come with these games. I think the Sociedad game should never have been played. That was the weirdest game I've watched in a very, very long time, even going through COVID after the Queen had died. So I've always just sort of, and I tweeted it straight after, I'm going to forget that game. It was just flat. Game of football shouldn't have been played that night. But then I think, We went to Sheriff, we beat them 2-0. We went to Ammonia, it's a 3-2, but, they really fought out their skins and we still managed to turn it around and get the victory. Obviously, we had the 1-0 against Ammonia at Old Trafford and the 3-0 against Sheriff. I think it's been job done so far, isn't it? And I think it's been, we've had tricky games. We struggled to break down some teams at times, but we've got the job done. And like you say, it's been nice to see us utilise players differently in the Europa League at times. But also, Stu, you mentioned earlier on, you wanted to see us get a consistent run of, so to speak, 10 wins, etc. I think for me, it's been quite nice to see Ten Hag be able to find some consistency with his team, to be able to build some patterns, be able to see the progress of that. I mean, let's even just take it, isolated. That game against Ammonia on the 13th of October versus the game against Sheriff on the 27th of October. How we struggled against the low block versus how we managed to, in the end, break them down a little bit later when we're on better form. So I think it's been really nice to be able to get those players playing together, like you said, Reese. My expectations now are let's go all the way, let's win it. But I do think that a lot is going to ride on whether we win this group. There's going to be a lot of games from January, a heck of a lot of games.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to start rotating. He's going to have to start putting out different teams. And he is going to have to start prioritising. And I genuinely feel like if we come second in the group, we will see a completely different 11, like a really strong 11 against Villa for the Carabao
Sorry
Cup.
to jump in there, Ben, as well, but I think you kind of saw that from the Arsenal team as well, didn't you?
Yeah,
the other night where they played upon. I think that's it's a huge weakness, isn't it? I think you look at the teams like City and Liverpool in the past, but City currently, the squad depth is the biggest thing really, but. Arsenal played a B team really, and they suffered because of it. And I don't think we've got that strength either, have we? To be fair, where we can play a B team and get away with that.
I think against Villa, that's my issue. I think if we come second, I think he really will go all out, all strength against Villa because he'll see that as a cup. Look, I want to win a trophy, so look, let's really go for the Carabao Cup, whatever it's called now, the League Cup or whatever. Let's really go for it, like he has the Europa League. Whereas if I think we finish top, he might be a little bit more reserved with his selection, not really want to have those extra fixtures of the midweek in that game and then the other weeks to have the Europa League games. So I do think a lot rides on winning the group. We covered talking about winning the group in our last on the watch along, so I don't want to sort of go into that too much. We'll sort of explain the technicalities about it in a minute. But looking at Sociedad, Stu, I don't think we can take a lot away from the last game we played against them. But what kind of test are you expecting here, especially over in Spain?
Sociedad won't care. That's the thing, because they know they can get away with a draw or a 1-0 loss. So for them, it's a relatively straightforward night's work. With us, it's going to be, do we panic? How do we approach the first 20 minutes? How does Sociedad approach the first 20 minutes? And Sociedad could approach it with the mindset that we'll go and try and get an early goal. And if we get an early goal, then we've got to score 3. It's as simple as that. And they will sit back. So it's going to be an interesting way. I think they'll approach it on counter-attacking football. I think they'll play relatively either a 4-5-1 or a 4-4-2 against us. And I think what they'll try and do is nullify our attacking wing play, and they'll try and nullify, if they can, Fernandes and Eriksen. So I don't think they'll push us back too much. I think you'll find that Casemiro will get a lot of space in the middle third, and it's what we do and how we utilise, whether or not we allow them to have the ball, which we did against Sheriff and Ammonia to a tiny extent, but Sociedad are a completely different animal. When it comes to turnover of possession, they're very, very quick. They're very slick. They're very sharp with the way that they play and the way they attack. And if they do get a goal, well, they're just going to hunker down. But for them, and if you role reverse it to us, you can't go. I don't think they'll go full goals blazing. I think they'll take it. They'll time waste a lot. They'll try and disrupt us as much as they can, because to them, a 1-0 win's an irrelevance. It just doesn't matter. A draw doesn't matter, to them, and a win doesn't matter to them. The cards are really stacked. Ten Hag's challenge will be overcoming the first 20 minutes, because after that, I think we'll start to panic a little bit. I think you'll find we won't be as composed. We won't be as calm on the ball. We won't move the ball with any type of speed, or if we do move it with speed, we'll concede possession turnover. It also depends on personnel up front and what he does. I think the middle three picks itself. I think you've got to play Maguire over Lindelof, even if Lindelof is back. I think you need a strong defender alongside Martinez. Dalot's going to have to come in again, and obviously Luke Shaw. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does with that front three. Now, does he stick with Ronaldo, or does he take him out of the equation and go with Rashford through the middle? Antony's not playing, from what I've heard. He's injured, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does up front. But I think Sociedad, if you're in that Sociedad, if I'm in that Sociedad changing room, I've got my headphones on at the beginning, and I'm just whatever. I'm just kicking an orange around or whatever. To me, it's a game that I'm just not going to bother about until such time that we have to turn it on and we have to worry about the game. But as a player going to the stadium, as a manager talking to the guys, all it's going to be is, look, lads, just keep it tight. Don't allow a stupid, sloppy goal. That's all Sociedad will be talking about. So they'll be whistling, high-fiving, whatever, because everything, they know Manchester United have got to push. So that's all.
The last couple of games they've lost in the league, but they're currently sitting fifth. They're a point behind Betis, a point behind Atletico Madrid, and looking at that La Liga, Barcelona and Madrid are running away with it. But they're competitive. They're very competitive in La Liga. Dan, for you, if they do sit back, like Stu said, and sort of just try to contain United, play out for the draw, play for that 1-0 win, it's a bit like what they did at Old Trafford. Let's face it, they didn't go gung-ho. They sat back and played out. We couldn't break them down. Are you concerned, so to speak, about our attacking prowess then, getting at them and getting through them? Because they are, let's face it, a stiffer test in a low block than a Sheriff, than an Ammonia. And we did struggle. It took us 44 minutes or whatever it was to break down Sheriff. And our troubles continued in the second half. We're going to get to the live chat in a second, but what are your thoughts on that, Dan?
I personally think that this game is United's biggest game of the season, because I feel like that with the World Cup coming up, Ten Hag's going to want to win this group, win this and top the group. Obviously, I know we need to win goals to top the group. So whether it's 2-0, 3-1, 4-2, whatever, I feel like, so that's why I feel like this is the most important game of the season so far, because, like I just said, Ten Hag will want to play as least amount of games possible to save recovery, fitness, and everything for his squad. So I feel like United will be up for it. I feel like in the first Europa League game against Real Sociedad, it should have been a draw, but it was just that poor call for a penalty, which is why Real Sociedad got the win. And I feel like United will absolutely turn them over. I don't think that Real Sociedad are a threat. I know they've got quite a lot of injuries. I think they've got 6 main injuries, and I think it's 8 squad injuries in total. But I think 6 of their first teamers are out. You've got Oyarzabal, that Kubo, that come to my mind off the top of my head. So what the other one? I think Silva, David Silva's also out. So you've got quite a few big players for Real Sociedad that are out. So I feel like that they're going to be doing a very quiet, maybe go even to a back 5. And yes, obviously, United struggle against a low block every now and again. But I feel like that with the likes of Ammonia and Sheriff, even though it took us a while to break them down, we eventually did it. And I feel like that once we get that first goal in and we don't allow Real Sociedad to put us on the back foot, and we just keep pressing them forward and keep hunting them down, United will comfortably win it. And I've said 4-1 to United. I feel like Real Sociedad will get the first goal, and then United will just turn on all gears and just absolutely smoke them. Now, I know that 4-1 sounds a bit...
we haven't got the firepower down for that, mate.
No, I'm about to say that. So I was going to say, I know 4-1 sounds like, because obviously we've not been scoring many goals recently, but I just feel like that the players will know that this is an important game massively, and I feel like they'll be up for it. I feel like that Ten Hag will be drilling it into them that we need to win this game, and I feel like it will be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, there's an opportunity there to play Rashford and Ronaldo in the same team, and who knows? Rashford's on the goals. Ronaldo has scored a lot of goals against Sociedad in the past. I think he scored something like 15 in 10 games. I saw online earlier on. United are due a big win as well, Simon. I completely agree with that. Thank you for joining us, by the way, Simon. Box has put here some of the injuries that they've got. And I think they are all first teamers you've mentioned there as well. And so there's a big opportunity for United to just have a little bit of luck. Going into this game. Jarvis says Saloff is playing. He's a BTEC Haaland, but great on his day. Yeah. How did City get on in the end today?
1-3-1.
I think.
They were awful in the first half, though, weren't they? From what I read.
Yeah.
There we go. Let's have a look at some more comments here. Talking about our injury news. No Anthony Sancho or Martial. None travelled. Martial really is turning into Phil Jones a bit, isn't he? I mean, I hate to say it, but he really is. But we'll talk about our injuries in a second. Thomas also asked a question here, which we'll get to, mate. Thank you for joining us. Sorry it's taken so long. Do you have concerns that United players might be targeted with the World Cup so close and other players getting injured who should have been playing in Qatar? We'll chat about that soon. And there's Rory's in the chat. John Commode's there. James Ridge is with us. James is watching all for United. This is like a dream come true. Wow. Maybe I'll come on a live stream one day and put us back in his bio. Anyway, I'm not bitter. Let's come over to you, Reese, and discuss discuss the injury concerns, Sociedad's style of play, what we can take away from that first game. What are you expecting from Sociedad tomorrow? Are you expecting a team that's well up for it, or would like Stu and Dan to sort of hit on? You expecting a team to sort of sit back with their injuries and sort of try and just get any result?
Yeah, they've got some big games coming up, haven't they? Really, as well. I mean, after us, they've got Valencia and Sevilla, which are two pretty big games as well. So they've got some tough fixtures in early November. So they could treat this as a little bit of a kind of look. It's a shot to nothing, and we go there. We sort of put out a bit of a second team and hope we get a result. And if we don't, then hope that we don't concede more than two, and we obviously they're through no matter what. It's just meaning in terms of where they're going to finish, and obviously an opportunity for them to finish top of the group, which would be massive. But no, I think it's more about Man United than it is about Sociedad, because I think in terms of, I mean, funnily enough, both teams are on the same goal difference in the table as well, which tells a picture of kind of where both teams are at in terms of the scoring power. United with 17 goals for and 16 against, and Sociedad was 16 and 15, so both on 1+ goal difference. So it shows kind of like we're both struggling this season to gain goals. So it could be one of those games, like Dan said, where the floodgates open and we see a high scoring game. I'm not so sure, to be quite honest. I think it'd be quite cagey on both sides, and I think more so because of the fact of, like the chat I've said there, that we're missing some key players. Key players usually would come into their own in games like this, possibly, big game winners like Anthony, obviously Martial's been out for quite some time as well. It's games like that where these players can come in and grab you a few goals and kill off games like this, really, and we march on. So, I'm looking forward to the game. I really am. I think there's an opportunity for us to kind of put a flag in here and say, look, this is the sort of team that we're going to be, and we're going to top this group, and we're going to march on from here and put a bit of a marker down. But it's we're suffering some injuries, and Sociedad aren't going to let us just come and smash them at home. So I think it'll be a bit cagey. I hope for 2-0, but I think it'll be more likely a 1-0 or a 2-1, to be quite honest, in our favour. But other than that, I'm looking forward to it, to be fair. So either way, other than the fact that it's an early kickoff, which is a bit of a bugger, to be fair.
Was it a 5:30 kickoff?
Yeah, it's a 5:45, isn't it?
5:45,
which is not great, is it? But
wait, 8.
It's quite an interesting one, because it's one of those games where quite a lot does ride on it. Yet we don't get the opportunity to build up the suspense really for it with that 5:45 kickoff, because it's sort of just like, work's done, football's on. Okay, then let's move on. I remember though us playing against Sociedad in the Europa League. It was last year, wasn't it? We played them in the Europa League as well.
Yeah, we got knocked out of the Champions League last year.
Champions League.
We did.
Atletico Madrid, we got knocked out by in the first groups knockout round.
But then didn't we play Sociedad in Europa League? Was it last year or the year before? We played them recently in the Europa League.
We played them in the group stage of the Champions League. Was that right?
When Ollie was manager, no, it wasn't the Champions League. It's definitely Europa League. When Ollie was manager, we played against them. It was when we was behind closed doors. I'm pretty sure it was. And they came to Old Trafford and they had a decent result. I think they won that 1-0. It was either that or it was a draw. But then I remember, let me search it up here and see when it was. Then I remember we went there, and do you remember we done still? I don't know if you remember this. We done all the previews with like the Spanish journalist Alexandra came on and previewed the game, and she was talking about Sociedad, this young team, and you know, and like they've got this zest and this flair. And I remember we smashed them. We went there and absolutely smashed them. I think Dan James had the best game for United of his life. Yeah.
It was Feb 2021. It was. We won 4-0.
So that would have been the first round of the knockout stages in the Europa League, then, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And then we went back in the second leg and drew 0-0.
Was that there, or did we win? We beat them.
We won away. We won away.
And
then came back to Old Trafford and drew goalless draw.
Yes, that was right, John. Yeah, because it had to be played in Turin, didn't it? Because we couldn't go to Spain.
That's it. Yeah,
that was right. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Dan James scored 2 goals that game, or at least one. He was brilliant that match. I remember we just kept scoring on the counter attack, and Rashford got a couple as well. Here we go. Bruno 2, Rashford and James. See, I knew my good memory that. I definitely didn't plan that bit.
Such a long time ago.
I think what it goes to show is we done those previews and we got so nervous about Real Sociedad before that because of what we heard about them and also how they're performing then in the league. But then we went there and turned them over. I think at times we forget the depth and how good our squad actually can be on its day, and we can go there and turn them over. There's no reason why we can't. But big buts, Stu. Big but scoring goals isn't easy for this United side at the moment. It's made more difficult by the injuries we've got too.
I just want to say something as well about Ronaldo, because obviously I know he's been out of form recently, but obviously he was linked with joining Sporting Lisbon in January, wasn't he? But they've dropped to the Europa League now, so I feel like he was banking on them staying in the Champions League so he can play Champions League football. So I now feel like Ronaldo will stay till the summer, and I feel like Ronaldo will step up his gears and turn into kind of Ronaldo 3 years ago, where he scores quite consistently again now.
Yeah, but why? What? So, sorry, just to grasp and just playing devil's advocate. So to twist what you're saying around is that you feel like he's not been playing or putting a shift into his best ability or masking his ability to get a move in January.
No, I don't think he's been playing to his full potential, and I think that's quite obvious. And it's like, if you're at a job you don't like, obviously you're not going to perform really well, are you? If you don't like your boss or you don't like the staff member or something.
Yeah, is that more hope, Dan, than expectation, though? Because
I think that's hope, Dan. I agree with Reese. I think that's hope. I think watching Ronaldo, I think his legs are gone. You can see it. Like, you can actually see it with just when he makes some movements, his legs are gone. I don't think we can get any more out of Ronaldo. And also, by the way, the other thing that I would hit at, right, and I know he's done some things that go against what I'm saying here, but when Ronaldo's on the football pitch, he's a model professional. He always has been. Wherever he's gone, whatever he's done, he's always been a model professional, which is why the stuff that he has done, like the petulance and the stuff that we've been seeing from him, is so, for me, in many different ways, out of character. I think a couple of people in the live chat, I think he does. He looks old. He does look. He does look.
I mean, there was a couple of moments. Was it the game on the weekend? Was it West Ham game when he had the chance on his left foot? And normally he smashed out the ball.
Do you know what Ronaldo's issue is this year? For the first time, he's done everything right in his career up until this point, because he's not played adjustment football. He's not adjusted his game to warrant his age. Now, Ibra adjusted his game. Ryan Giggs adjusted his game. Paul Scholes adjusted his game. I can go on for a list of players that have changed the way they play when they get to a certain age. And this is what I'm finding this really difficult to put across about Ronaldo, because he was the one that pioneered, a sprint coach. He was the one that pioneered getting there an hour early and staying 2, 3, 4 hours later after training to practice and practice and practice and practice. And he pioneered all of this, and certain players have followed, certain players haven't. He's now guilty of not adjusting his game to help him during Premiership matches.
Do you think that's the case, though, Stu? I do sort of agree with you. I see where you're coming from. I think with Ibra a little bit, it's a little bit different. I don't think he didn't have Ronaldo's dribbling ability at a young age. He could dribble, but I don't mean like in that. It wasn't a fast-paced dribbler. I don't think he was hard on his body at an earlier age. So I think we're just seeing the signs of that now at Ronaldo's. He's still a fit bloke, a lot fitter than I'll ever be, and I'm a lot younger than he is. But he's just. I just don't think his body's there anymore. And I think that it's not necessarily. Yeah, there's parts of his game that he needs to adapt, and I don't think he's doing that. But I just think his body's not able to do that as well. And I thought, when you look at like an Ibra, it was clear that his style, the way that he played, it kind of. I mean, look at Messi. Messi's obviously a couple of years younger than Ronaldo, but because of the way that he plays, he's quite not a lazy player, but he doesn't do a lot of off the ball work. And then
Messi's never been really stuff, though, has he? Unless he's on the attack, he never really tracks back or anything like that. Messi.
I think the one thing that people forget about. Sorry, I don't want to hug the Ibrahimovic example because you made many more. I'd say Drogba is another example of players who molded their games. Diego Costa's another one. These little things, and they're really small, little intricate things. And obviously, Rishi, you know your football, so I'm not trying to thingy. But the one thing that I would say about Ibrahimovic is people forget how like Haaland he was, to the point of where Pep didn't want to play him because he was taking the ball and he was taking the play away from Messi when he was in that Barcelona team because of the way he'd pick up the ball, charge with it, some of the runs he would make. People just weren't able to get on the same level with him. Zlatan wasn't always a target man. Later in his career, and the reason why, and we're all quite short-term when we remember football in some ways. I know I certainly am, so I talk on my own behalf there, is I remember Zlatan as a target man. But that's only because he adjusted his game quite early, especially after he came away from Barca, because he sunk to a bit of a low there. I think my issue with Ronaldo is, like you say, they're doing adjustments. There was too many times at the weekend he kept coming short for the ball.
Exactly.
Way too short for the ball. Yeah, if you're Ronaldo now, you haven't got it in your legs, you can't make up that space, just stay on the last man. And even Ten Hag's been saying that in all the interviews. He's been saying, I keep saying to Ronaldo, stick on the last man. Stay there, stay on the last defender's shoulders, keep yourself in the box.
Ben, do you think that's why Bruno and Ronaldo can't play against each other? Because I see constantly that because Bruno wants to make a forward pass to a Rashford or someone who gets in behind and stuff, who can beat the last man. Do you think because Ronaldo drops on the edge of the box, doesn't it? And I think
that's a myth. I think that's a myth. The fact that Bruno and Ronaldo can't play together. I really do think that's a myth because I don't think that dropping short, Bruno's the only person who does it. Bruno's ball hungry. He will always run towards the ball, not away from it. So will Eriksen. And that's where Eriksen makes it difficult. So does Shaw, by the way. You don't see Shaw make many off-the-ball runs. He's usually in and around the ball when he receives it to be able to give and go. Same with Sancho. Antony's similar in that way. So we've got all these magnets that all just go towards the ball constantly. And that's why Rashford's a breath of fresh air when he's up top. But then we criticise him because of what he's like when he's on the ball. He actually doesn't want it. He wants to run in behind with it.
You can't say we're like magnets going after the ball because the Brentford fans will have a go at you.
Yeah, well, that is true. But we really are. I think if you watch United at times, we will have the ball out wide, and I keep banging this drum, right? There's no point in us playing with wingers. There's no point in wingers hitting the bar.
Not at this point in time. Yeah, not at this point in time. Yeah.
We just keep the ball in triangles, and there's never anyone in the box, and that's because we're all magnets and we're all going towards the ball. Ronaldo's getting frustrated, so he just wants the ball at his feet. Bruno gets frustrated, he wants the ball at his feet. And we're not able to spread the play, and that's why we find it difficult to break down low blocks. And
but you're absolutely right about Ronaldo, and that's the point I was making, that he does need to adjust his game, and the adjustment is a very, 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 very minute adjustment. Just stay on the centre half, because when you come out and you come to try and receive the ball from Bruno, Eriksen, Casemiro, or whoever, you make your life very, very difficult when you progress back into the attacking third, because you're walking into a roadblock of two centre halves that are just waiting for you to come in. You become very, very easy to mark. if you stay and just maneuver around 10 yards from left to right, you become a bit more of a pain in the arse, because you've either centre halves have got to switch because one centre half is marking him, or you've got to pass him on. And then that becomes a problem, because Ronaldo, what he's still very, very good at is back to the player and zipping in and around to the far post, whichever side he is. And we're not doing that because, as Ben quite rightly said, we don't hit the byline. We don't get anywhere near the byline. When we do get near the byline, we turn around, come back, and we drop it off to Dalot or Shaw.
That's why, I mean, personally, that's why I think like a number 9 for Ten Hag is not somebody who should be the main out-and-out goal scorer, Stu. I think he's, for Ten Hag, he wants the number 9 to be there to provide for his wider players, to be there, to be a target man, to feed them in, to play them in around the corner, and to be that man. And Ronaldo doesn't want to do that, does he? Ronaldo wants to be the one.
Would you say like a João Felix then with that point, Reece? Like a João Felix, like a more like a creative number 9?
No, I mean, the best example of it really is like how Firmino's fitted in at Liverpool, isn't it? You know,
Yes.
Salah and Mane were the ones scoring the goals. Firmino, he'd pop up and get a goal. He wasn't the main out-and-out goal scorer. That's the best example of it.
And I think you're right. But on the flip side of that, then, Ten Hag hasn't got that right now. So he's got to deal with it. He's got to deal with what Ronaldo is. And the fact is, play on the last man all the time. Push him back. Push your two centre halves.
I feel like, though, Stu, that what Ronaldo is really good at is that, like we saw it for the West Ham goal, that Ronaldo can also really, like, when Ronaldo's in the box, the defenders are always constantly on him, which allows free space for like the likes of Rashford to run in and head the ball in, like he did against West Ham. Yeah. So I feel like that's still a strong suit for Ronaldo. So even though we can all agree that he's lost a lot of pace, he still isn't. His age is getting to him now. I still feel like he's a usable asset to have at United, because no matter what, the mental side of it is that when them defenders see that Cristiano Ronaldo is starting, they're going to be like, shit, Ronaldo is starting, we're going to have to watch him no matter what, because even if he is old, he can still cause damage on and off the ball.
And no one's disputing that, by the way. Yeah, like at the end of the day, me, like we all keep banging this drum. We can't complain about not scoring goals when we've got a player like Cristiano Ronaldo who can like be literally the vocal point of your front line. Because if there's, as you say there, Dan, there's one thing that Ronaldo's really good at is that he knows what positions to be in to score goals. Like whether he scores them or not, or is missing a big chance, whatever. We're still talking about him missing chances because he's in the position to have the chance. So no one's ever disputing that. My issue and like what Stu said there and like bringing it back full circle is around how he's adapting his game now that he's older and he hasn't got his legs there. So that Rashford goal there is a great example, Dan. Brilliant example. The issue is that happens once a game, and what he tends to do is go searching for the ball like that magnet that I said earlier on, and then he brings the defenders out around the space. We lose the ball, bang, they can hit us on the counter. And West Ham would done that time and time again, all because we weren't occupying spaces or moving off the ball, so that we could basically try and flummox them, like try and find ways to get in and around them. Reece, did you want to have a bit of a say? I know you went to say something then and pitching on it.
I mean, just to add on what Dan said, really, I agree with all you to your points. Really, I think it's more the fact that I think Ronaldo can provide a service to this team. It's just whether what he's there to provide is kind of fit into Ronaldo. And I think the reasons we've seen that kind of petulance is because I don't think Ronaldo can accept that his role is to do the donkey work, really, isn't it? And but he can definitely provide for the team. It's just probably not the things that he wants out of this, which is, like I say, getting the plaudits for scoring the goals. So, but yeah, other than that, I totally agree. He can definitely provide. I mean, I said it before on the last show that we were on. Is if he can't give something to this team for the next 6 months, it's there's something wrong somewhere. So. Yeah,
I mean, the interesting point when we put when Eriksen put that ball through, it was a wonderful, delightful piece of play between Eriksen, Bruno, and Eriksen. And that chip, you're Ronaldo and you're watching that and you're thinking, that's mine. I would have been, Ronaldo would have popped that away, even today, but he wasn't there. You know, and there's your source of frustration for him. You know, Ronaldo comes in, and when you watch Rashford, and when you watch Rashford in slow motion, it was almost a pinpoint carbon copy picture drawing of what Ronaldo does, the body shape in the air, the way he attacked the ball, the way that he leapt 2 yards off the defender, which makes it almost impossible to defend against it. It really does. It's impossible. And the goalkeeper didn't have a chance. That's what Ronaldo, has thrived on. And that's his source of frustration. That's where he gets frustrated. And that's where I agree with you, Reese. That's his frustration. He's looking at Rashford do that, and he's thinking, that should be me. But all great players do, by the way. All great players should have that absolute killer instinct and will to win. And it was great to see Rashford do it. But as Ben pointed out, Rashford's going to do that 1 in 7.
Well, that might be an opportunity for him now at the age that he is, Stu, to adapt his game, isn't it? And it's a great time to do that.
Absolutely. And if you can't learn that off Ronaldo, which I think he has, I think he must have worked on that because it was absolutely phenomenal.
And we've seen two. We've seen 2 bullet headers.
That's
in 2
right.
games
Yeah,
already.
that's right. But if you can't learn that off Ronaldo, you'll never learn football. I mean, just watch.
I just want to say something about Rashford. I criticised him in the summer and said that he is very a one-trick pony where he tries running at defenders and tries and the step over and tries and beats them on the run. Now I'm starting to see him starting to adapt his game a lot more, something Ronaldo's failed to do, as we've said, where he's now time's caught up with Ronaldo when he's still trying to be the same player he was 10 years ago, but his body can't do it. So I feel like with Rashford adapting his game now, whether it's with his heading ability, if he develops his left foot, his link-up play, whatever it is, I feel like Rashford could become a better player. And I'm starting to, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm starting to think of seeing Rashford like getting a lot more bulkier. And maybe Ten Hag's going to play him as that number 9 position, maybe. Because I called him, I called Rashford like the apprentice of Ronaldo, it seems now. Where because obviously Ronaldo started off as a winger and then eventually became a centre forward. So I don't know what the panel thinks on that. Could Rashford become a number 9 in the future?
I'll be quick here because Reese and Ben both know my opinion on the number 9 because we've had this conversation. 18 months ago, we were discussing a certain number 11. Oh yeah, he's born to be a number 9, and I'm like, no, he's not. He doesn't possess this attribute. And the guys know what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about this 2-3 second killer instinct that I'm quicker than anybody else. Ruud van Nistelrooy had it. Cavani had it. I mean, Edison Cavani, for speed of thought in the box and being able to get across the player or take 2 steps back and get that free header, he was phenomenal. And that is something that unfortunately you can't teach. You can't coach that. That's all in here. That's using your peepers and your ears and making sure that you anticipate. And you know what? When you do anticipate, be prepared to miss. Be prepared to look an absolute twat going for a header that's not there, because you'll get it. And it just and it's all about giving it that go, having the belief in yourself. And I'll just hark back to the 2 away goals at Southampton. Me, Reese, Ben, and somebody else was on the chat that I think the game after, it was a Monday night, the game after, and we all said that there's nobody in the Premier League would have put that second goal away, the winning goal. The anticipation of a Bruno failed shot, phenomenal, and you can't coach that, I'm afraid. So I get your question, Dan, but it's very difficult, mate. Very difficult.
So the one thing I'd say in Rashford's defence is that he has 9 times out of 10 at youth level played as a number 9, right? And when he first came into the team, he was a number 9 and he was clinical. He popped up in spaces that 9 should occupy. The biggest mistake we made with Marcus Rashford was following this inside forward trend and trying to fit him into the side. We saw here a teenager who was close to breaking records, scoring multiple goals for the Manchester United youth sides, tearing apart backlines on his own right from that centre forward position. His strength, his power, his pace, his clinical finishing. He was smashing in free kicks from like 40 yards out. He was that confident, at that level. He was too good for it. Came into the side. He was under Van Gaal. And then we tried under Mourinho and other managers to go, right, okay, we need pace out wide. We need to play with inside forwards. Let's make Rashford an inside forward, and let's go with and accompany players like Ronaldo and Ibra and these type of figures to be our centre forward, instead of entrusting Rashford to play that role. Because what we ended up doing, in my personal opinion, is we ended up focusing on him so much becoming this left winger that we needed, and we sort of took away that natural instinct that he had as a centre forward. But it's in there. He's got it because he's shown it. He's got it. And I just want to quickly talk about his goal scoring record, because there were some graphics put up about Rashford and his 100 goals, and people were just like, oh my God, it's taken him so long to reach 100 goals, etc., etc. And I think United Arena put this best. So I'm just going to read their tweet word for word, because I think it's just bang on. And they put up, Marcus Rashford has 100 goals for us, but he also has 49 assists in just 231 90-minute matches in all competitions. He's played under multiple coaches in different systems across the front line as a starter and a rotational player, and has still put up 149 goals and assists in 231 90 minutes. That is superb. And we don't talk about it enough. Instead, we criticise him for a poor season last season. And we also look at the areas that he needs to potentially improve to become this world-class player. But we don't focus on the positives with him. What we need to do now is use him as a number 9. Like, actually just use him as a number 9. Because if we don't, then we're never going to know. And I really don't think, unfortunately, that he can be, if we want to go to that next level, that wide player that we would need in a side, if he isn't a centre forward. So I think that's the thing for him now. He has an opportunity to become our number 9, and he needs to grasp it. And I still think, Stu, like, slightly disagreeing with you, I think he has got that natural instinct. And we saw that with that goal against West Ham, with that header.
We did.
That's
we
exactly
did.
where a number 9 should have been.
I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. And that's what I love, by the way. I am a throwback to the way that football used to be played, as you all know, and anybody who's in the comments know. And I used to absolutely adore Andy Gray flying at headers. It was phenomenal. That's the type of football I was brought up with. But then you're playing old-fashioned wingers 4-4-2. We had it with Kanchelskis, Giggs. Hughes would dive in on the odd occasion, etc. And I take your point about Rashford. I think it is a great point. And we do forget that he was a number 9 and out number 9 throughout the youth, and he was then starting to play out of position. And in fact, the first couple of goals he scored were number 9 goals. He was pretty much on the 6-yard line, bang, and that's where you want a number 9. You want a number 9 to be peeling off Alan Shearer-esque, because he just tapped one in from 4 yards. That's what you want your number 9 to do. Yeah, the icing on the cake is the 25, 35-yard free kicks, etc., etc. But your number 9 lives, breathes, and does everything, from the penalty spot, the 12 yards from the penalty spot onwards. And that's, you do forget about Rashford. I think it's a really good point. And he was played out of position. And I think Van Gaal hasn't helped, and various managers after that hasn't helped. Mm-hmm. Maybe Ten Hag is looking at him and saying, you know what, you are going to be my number 9. Maybe he's told him he's going to be his number 9. Maybe he said, I'm going to be your number 9. But for you to do that, I need you on that training ground every day, practicing, understanding the dimensions, understanding where you are, the logistics of where you are at any given time when you're in that 18-yard box. You need to know where you are, because that you can teach yourself. You can teach yourself dimensions. You can understand exactly where you need to be at any given time. And then you talk to your Ericssons, you talk to your Brunos, you talk to your Antonys, and you talk to your Alangas, and you talk to your Martials. I want the ball here. And you show them exactly where you want the ball. Because if you give me that ball, I'm running from 9 yards, and I'm going to get there quicker than anybody else. And I'm going to either get my head on it, I'm going to get my body on it, or I'm going to get right or left foot on it, or I'm going to get me to. This is where I want you to deliver the ball. And if you don't deliver it, I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be at the back post. I'm not going to be in the middle. I'm going to be here. And that's all about communication. And that is understanding, and your wingers understand. Even go back, by the way, to Dalot and Shaw. If Dalot and Shaw are putting in those deep crosses, which I don't like, by the way, if they're putting those deep crosses, Rashford needs to say, this is where I want it. If you're going to put me a deep cross in, I need it 3 yards left of the centre of the penalty spot, and I will be there to meet it. That's where I want it. That's pretty much where Ericsson put it, didn't he? Give or take. 3 yards left of the penalty spot, and there was Rashford. Bang! Oh, it's a
Attacking the
wonderful goal.
space. Yeah,
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was so delighted about the goal.
Let me get into some of the live chats because we've got loads coming in
Sorry.
here, and then we'll come to you, Reese, and then we can actually talk about the injury issues and what front three we're going to go with this week. We'll go through the team. Box, I think Ronaldo is just old. Simon, he looks
that one.
he looks old. Simon talking about that Ronaldo's the best player that he's seen, but now he's just turning into a bit of a prima donna. I think Reese was right with that. Like, I don't think he can accept doing the donkey work, and then I think he also gets frustrated. He's snatching at shots a lot, I've noticed, which isn't like Ronaldo at all. Jarvis says we can't sugarcoat the Ronaldo situation. He's struggling to keep up because of his age. Is he finished? I don't know. He might humbly change his style and start listening to Ten Hag. Then might ... We love good feedback on this channel. So, Mr. Ton, keep that coming, please. Spot on, Ben. Thank you, mate. I won't read out all the nice feedback for Dan, Stu, and Reese. I will just stick with mine. Actually, here's one for Stu. Stu, I hate the fact I always seem to agree with you. Don't we all? Let's have a look at some more. That's a great point, Dan. But after a while, the Ronaldo fear factor will fade away. Well, we'll have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see on that one. I'm just scrolling through here some of the Rashford stuff. Box says Rashford is a very frustrating player. I think we need a better centre forward. A hungry, aggressive Rashford is great to watch, is what Jacob said. Sorry, guys, I'm steamrolling through these. Jake, he also said, I don't see him as a 9 or a winger. He's a powerful inverted forward, not quite the level of a Mane, but more of a striker than a Mane. I think that's the issue, though, isn't it? It's square pegs in round holes. You can't have a system flourish if you've got square pegs in round holes. You need people to be able to play the way you need them to play in a system and be a natural at it. Otherwise, the system's not going to work out. And I'm just going to have a look at some more of this. Rashford was never clinical. Wilkin and James Wilson were always more clinical. Yeah, but with Wilkin and James Wilson, you're talking about two of potentially the best ever reserve team strikers that have actually been in reserve team football. And that's not me just saying that. Like, go and look at the statistics. James Wilson was probably the best youngster at youth level to ever play at youth level. he just was. And it's the same with Wilkin. He showed a similar promise. Who, James Wilson? Those the injuries, wasn't he? I genuinely thought when James Wilson was coming through, he was going to be the next Michael Owen. He had everything, all the ingredients to be the next Michael Owen. He's similar style.
Salford City or something at one point. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he's retired now. Yeah. I'd love to interview James Wilson and talk to him about his story.
It'd be a good watch.
John Cameron said, yeah, I agree, Ben. Worth mentioning he scored 4 in his first 2 appearances for the first team playing as a number 9. Van Gaal purposefully told him to play between the goalposts. And there's loads of stuff here, guys. Keep talking amongst each other in the live chat. We'll come over as much as we can. Apparently, James Wilson's now at Port Vale. There we go.
Oh, is it?
Interesting.
He was at City at some point, though. I remember that.
Yeah. Well, look, we've been talking Rashford, Reece.
Years ago.
Reece, does Rashford start as 9 for you tomorrow? Does Ronaldo play? I mean, Anthony's out. Sancho hasn't travelled either. And Martial is just hanging out with Phil Jones too much. What do you make of it, Reece?
Yeah, I just seen a comment there coming in as well. Charlie McNeil. I mean, that's another kid who's potentially in that bracket, isn't he, with them two? Could he find his way into the team? But God, the injury list is quite sudden and quite fast now, isn't it? I mean, the Anthony one was kind of weird. It came out of nowhere a little bit, that one. But and Sancho unwell. I think was it illness?
Yeah, somehow.
He's still off with illness. It's a bit of an odd one, isn't it? But yeah, I'm not sure. He could play with a sort of a narrow front two, maybe play Ronaldo, Rashford sort of alongside each other in a traditional sort of striker partnership. But then with the view that maybe, Rashford would maybe go a little wider and Ronaldo would occupy the central role with Bruno in behind. So play like a narrow. It's kind of similar to how PSG set up today this evening with Messi in behind Mbappe. And they didn't start Neymar. They started Soler, which was like a front two with Bruno in behind. So they could play it that way, really. I mean, interesting as well whether Van der Beek comes back. I watched him last week and he was brilliant. 10, 15 minutes. He was fantastic. He was really good to watch. Really, is sort of interlinking passing and the way that he calls for the ball, the way that he sort of is constantly making runs. It's just it's brilliant to see. Sort of almost a little bit. It's kind of glaringly obvious that sometimes the rest of the team's quite static when he's playing because he's making so many runs and calling for the ball in every position. It's quite refreshing to see, but obviously he's just not had a great run of games. So that'll be interesting now he's back from injury, and obviously he's got probably an opportunity to maybe play him, whether he will. But yeah, obviously Bruno starts. I think Bruno starts more because I think he's suspended anyway, isn't he, for the weekend game anyway with his 5-yellow card.
Villa, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's likely to obviously he's going to start him, isn't he?
I just want to quickly speak about Bruno. Sorry to interrupt you, Reese, but
no,
what would you guys think of him on the right-hand side? Because obviously we've not got a right winger for tomorrow night's game. I feel like if you played the midfield three of Casemiro, Van de Beek as the 10, Van de Beek as the 8, and Eriksen as the 10, and then put Bruno on the right-hand side to make crosses into the box. Now, I just thought that because I feel like then he's not forced to hit that Hollywood pass that frustrates me so much that he does. So I feel like maybe Bruno on that right-hand side as a creative winger could be something to look at, maybe.
If you want the ball in the box, I think you play Eriksen there. I would be playing Eriksen on the right over Bruno, personally, if we were going to play either of them.
You're going to have a gaping hole, though, aren't you, between Dallo and whoever plays.
Wow, it's an interesting one, though, isn't it? Especially against a low block. Like, would it be better to play with someone who's a little bit more technical and able to then attack those forward spaces? And to be honest, I wouldn't play Van der Beek as an 8. We've tried that; it's never worked when we've played him as an 8 in a game. Just genuinely, it hasn't.
Would you play Van der Beek as a 10?
No, I would. Van der Beek doesn't get in my team. I would be playing Fred in the midfield with Casemiro, or McTominay in the midfield with Casemiro, and then letting the forward players do their job. Bruno, Eriksen, letting them get more further forward.
I think based on the importance of the game, I think Van der Beek wouldn't start, would he? I agree with that. I think I'd love to see him play, but I don't think he should start personally. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't agree with the Bruno thing on the right though, Dan. I'll be honest. I'm a bit funny with players who are central midfielders playing wide. I think they just.
Reece, can I ask you a question quickly on that? Because Ten Hag has been used to be fair, Dan's made the point, but Ten Hag has been pushing Bruno out to the right-hand side quite a lot towards the end of games, which is quite interesting for his tenacity. Yeah, he's done it the last few games. Against West Ham, he pushed Bruno out to the right-hand side when he took off... who did he take off? He brought on Fred and took off Elanga. He took off Elanga, didn't he? Yeah. And then he put Bruno out on the right-hand side. Did it against Chelsea, did it against Liverpool, did it against Arsenal. He keeps pushing Bruno out there, like from the 70th minute if he makes a change.
I think he did it in the Sheriff game. He put him on the left. He put him left, and he just went quiet for 20, 30 minutes. It didn't really see him, and he doesn't want to be playing there. I'm not putting him in the bracket of Scalzi in the England situation, but it's like putting Scalzi on the left. You're trying to cram too many players into a team because of
you'll have an issue with this. You'll have an issue with Reece. You're absolutely right, because what you'll end up playing with is almost a 4-2-2-2. So you'll have your top two, you'll have your Eriksen and your Bruno, and you'll have your Casemiro and whoever it may be. That will be so narrow, i.e. inverted, will have pretty much zip going down the wings. You got to be very, very careful how you do it and how you...
Maybe that's when your overlapping fullbacks can be your wingers at that point, because then if you could have like Casemiro dropping between the defenders to make a back three, which allows you Shaw and Dalot to then become pretty much wingers as in fullbacks.
If you have the ball, if you dominate the possession,
you're just going to get people. Yeah, you'll have people in behind you. I think I take your point. I think it's a brave move, but you'll just have people in behind you.
But also, it really confuses me. It really confuses me because how many times, guys, have we come on this stream, and especially like at the start when we was watching pre-season and Ten Hag was playing with inverted wing backs, right? So he was trying to make everything quite narrow, and then there's a little decision here and there where it's like, Well, actually, no. What we need is the opposite, and you've just said it there, Dan. We need wingers to get down the wing backs to get down the wing, create space. Like Luke Shaw coming in, that's what he was doing initially. He wasn't tucking in enough, which is why he came out the team, and it made our whole shape a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes a manager just does something. You're like, I thought I understood football in his system, and now it's just blown my mind.
I do agree with Dan's point in the fact that we. Sorry, Stuart. I just really quickly on that. I do agree with Dan's point that we should be getting more crosses into the box. It infuriates me with the inverted wingers. I don't think it works if we're going to play Ronaldo in there as well, because it's kind of counterintuitive, because we're coming inside and we're not good enough to kind of break lines in and around a defensive team. We need to be just whipping in balls and getting the ball in the danger zone and trying to create chances from that. And we don't do that enough. But I don't think Bruno would be the right person to play wide.
You'd have a turnover issue anyway, because unfortunately, without the pace of Varane at the back, you're going to have Maguire or Lindelof. Likely to be Maguire. Whether Lindelof's trained or not, I don't know. But they're not pacey enough to help. So, and Casemiro is not hugely quick. He's quick, obviously, but he's not hugely quick. You also, by doing that, you're taking away Casemiro's strength in the game. By pushing him too far back. You need Casemiro in and around the centre circle, just walking around, doing the odd jog now, here and there, ready to receive the ball and get us back going again. So
we're playing a high line on Stu, where we're on the halfway line regardless, then he's still having his strong suits at that point. So you could just be like a kind of a step up playing centre back, where he is just playing a bit further forward than the other two.
But if I was a striker, I'd just be playing on Martinez or Maguire. That's all I'd do. If I was their striker, I'd just play on him, and I would push him and push him and push him. So when I'm looking at it and we've got no turnover, I'm pushing. As soon as we get turnover, I'm pushing Maguire back, or I'm pushing Martinez back, literally pushing them so I can get the space that our wingers need. Mm-hmm. You're then relying on Shaw and Dalot to half-inch it back. Eriksen, Bruno into cover. I'm not saying you're wrong, pal. I would be uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's go through the team, shall we, for tomorrow? So I take it we're all happy with De Gea in there. I don't think we're going to go anything else. Now the best goalkeeper in the world again. Perfect. And by the way, when you talk about players adapting their play, there's a prime example there of someone who has massively adapted his game. So fair play to De Gea, and he's definitely, you can see, play into instruction. And then I think defense, Dalot. Probably Shaw again. I think he'll go full strength to Dalot Shaw.
I'd prefer Malacia.
Huh?
I'd prefer Malacia in this type of game with pace to get up and down them wings.
But then again, this is my point and I said this earlier on. It really confuses me. Malacia isn't a wing back. Like, that's what's really weird about him. He's an inverted wing back, and that's how Ten Hag plays him. So I agree with you. He's got the pace and he makes opportunities. He gets the ball in the box, and and he also has a lot of shots. If you look at his stats from the Eredivisie, he had a lot of shots on goal last season.
He scored the thingy for the Dutch side, didn't he, when he went on the international duty?
But he always picks up that space, like 25 yards out, but like in line with the edge of the box, not the other side, the touchline, like the phase 3. So it's really weird. But yeah, I mean, maybe you'd prefer Malacia. I personally would prefer Malacia, but I think he'll probably go Shaw. So I think for argument's sake, what do we think, Malacia, or do we think Shaw? Is there anything?
I think Shaw, unfortunately. I think he'll go Shaw.
Yeah, I think if it was just normal, I think if we were top in the group and we were sailing, Malacia would play. But I think it's such a big game. I think Shaw's shown enough form, hasn't he? And just on the Dalot thing, it made me laugh from the press conference, actually, because he was asked about the fact that, we've not really got much into the terms of right back options. Are we going to be looking for a right back in January? And he sort of said, possibly. But the minute I need Dalot to play, and it was almost like, I don't care if he's got a knock or he's tough, he needs to play. He's clearly thankful that Dalot's been in form, for one, but secondly, he's been fit, because God, that's a position that we would have really struggled to fill. If
West Ham are coming in for Wan-Bissaka, aren't they? They've offered 20 million for January.
Oh well, we can get him up to at least 30. That's all right. It's David Gill and Sullivan over there, money pockets. I said it the other day, and I'll say it again on stream, because I was really critical of Dalot after last season, and I still think that he needs to keep working hard and keep this consistency going. There's clearly is a player in there, and Ten Hag's unlocking potential there. But that was a world-class performance against West Ham. He done everything he needed to do, like literally everything. He done everything he needed to do.
His headers
From getting forward defensively, his covering headers at the back post.
It's what's known in trade, Ben, as your golden game. He's had his golden game.
Oh, it was. Let's hope he doesn't do a McTominay, though, Stu, because we spoke about this countless times last season. McTominay would have a golden game and disappear for the next 7 or 8. Now he has got to keep that up and keep doing it. And if he can do that, we're going to be talking about someone at the end of the season who should be up for Player of the Season, not just United's Player of the Season, but potentially in the Premier League as well, because he's playing at that good a level at the moment. So
he's one of the best right backs in the Premier League this season.
What he needs to do though now for Dallo is get those assists. Get those 4 or 5, 6 assists. Get forward and provide a little bit more. If he does that on top of what he's already doing now defensively, I think he does get into that notch of Player of the Season, I think, to be fair. Yeah, it's a good point. But he's going to definitely play that back four, isn't he? I think Maguire comes back into that.
I think Maguire plays. Yeah. I do. I think I know people. He did have a couple of dodgy moments, but I thought he was solid alongside Martinez against West Ham. I thought he was really, really good, Maguire.
I think it was a classic case. He was just trying to show off a little bit by trying to pick some Hollywood passes.
Then he got his head in the game.
Got his head calmed down a bit, didn't he? I think. Yeah.
Once he got his head in the game, looked good. He did look good. But then again, the whole back four looked good. Let's be honest. The whole back four looked good.
That at the end of the game
looked good.
He just got to learn to concede. Sometimes he gets trapped, doesn't he, in that no man's land. He just needs to concede the ball and let players have it in front of him a little bit. I know that's sometimes dangerous, but when he made that tackle in their half, when he was late,
it was just a bit rash. Yeah, it was a bit
just
rash.
Like leave it, let him have it there, and run back. But yeah, I think he'll play.
I think it'll be the same back five, so to speak.
I think what I liked about the end of that West Ham game is we needed a proper defender on the pitch at that moment, and Maguire showed up. Like there was a couple of incidents in that box that, if unfortunately, and this is nothing against Lindelof, he's great on the ball, probably suits Ten Hag's system better. But when you've got a Premier League team throwing the kitchen sink at you, you need defenders to grab those strikers and by the scruff of the neck and turn the tap off. And Maguire, even in the last minute, you can bring it luck, you can say what it is. His body position was perfect to get something on that ball.
Yeah, deflected it off, didn't he?
It was perfect.
And look at Dahe's
when we've got corners and we're conceding corners and we're conceding free kicks. You feel more comfortable when he's in that box, don't you, as well?
He loves it. He loves it. That massive head of his. He absolutely loves it. It's what he likes.
He heads out, doesn't know where it's going to go. That's the issue.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's interesting with him. I mean, he's got a lot of learning to do, and I said this in a thread the other day to Ben Yates, and he slightly disagreed with me. I genuinely think there's things that you can teach a footballer and can't teach a footballer. We've spoken about it tonight with Ronaldo. When it comes to being a natural in your position, having that awareness, knowing where to go, knowing what to do at high stake moments, you can't coach that. You can't really teach that. No. You've got it or you haven't. And I think when it comes to being a very good natural defender, Maguire's got that. Like Ronaldo being a very good natural striker, knowing where to go, the small 2-yard runs. He's really, really good at that. Casemiro, the way Stu keeps analysing it, the way he walks and knows his positions and knows when to charge and recharge his batteries and then go again, etc. You can't teach stuff like that. It's just a natural nous within very good footballers. But what you can teach people is timing, when to play a pass, where those triangles should be, the patterns of play, how to expand them, etc. So for me, now we've got a fit Maguire, I'm actually quite excited to see if Ten Hag can teach an old dog new tricks. Because if he can, Maguire has a passing range on him. And look, I agree with Jacob. He's an unfashionable footballer. He won't wear pink boots. He won't take a massive risk and do a step over and a back heel.
He wears them all the time.
Well,
he's got red on it, red and orange or whatever.
You know what I'm trying to say.
I mean, he's not. If you want to know precise.
Harry Maguire should be a Copa Mundial staple. The end.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean by it.
Or World Cups. Or World Cups. The end.
I don't think we can bypass that comment, though. Surely not.
Yeah, well, I was ignoring it. We don't want that to go to his head. That's too much. That's praise. Too much praise on Stu. But here, and I completely agree with what Mr. Ton's saying here. We need new centre back moving forward. Varane can't stay fit. Maguire clearly isn't favoured by the manager, and Victor, I'm not sure on it. I completely agree. I do also agree with
Yeah,
that.
so do I. I do as well.
I don't think Maguire's the answer to our prayers, but I think we should be quite excited by the fact that we've got potential within our ranks. And Ten Hag is clearly a manager that can improve players. We've seen it We've seen it already with Rashford, Dalot, De Gea. Even Shaw, you'll say, is starting to look a little bit better when he's got the ball. The decisions he makes as well. Like Anthony, how he's brought Anthony on from Ajax to United. Lisandro Martinez, by the way, let's not forget how bloody good he is and how the improvements he's already made at United.
Yeah.
So I think
I don't want to say anything, but I popped over to Holland about 5 years ago.
Oh, I bet you did. Yeah. Of course you did. Yeah.
Just popped over.
Bit of a pat on the head, you're not strong enough, mate. You're not hard enough. Come on, sort out. Interestingly enough about Luke Shaw, it looks like Chilwell could be out of the World Cup with his hamstring.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, let's crack on with the team because we've got like 15 minutes left. So midfield, we're going with the strongest one. We're going to say Casemiro, Bruno, and Eriksen in that midfield three, right? Which means we're going to be picking three attacking players to play. Let's do that. Let's just go with that. I don't care what you guys say. We're going with that.
No, sorry, I think that's right. I like what Reece thinks. I do. But I think it'll be that. I think you've got to go with that. I don't think you can go with anything else.
So you want the travelling squad forwards because we've got his Ronaldo, Rashford, Alanga, Shoretire, and Garnacho. That's the forwards we're bringing.
Well, so let's talk about what front three we're going for then. Stu, do you want to put yours on a plate? And then we'll discuss in more detail after. Just tell us the three you guys. Yeah. Feel free to put yours in the live chat, guys, by the way. The three attackers you're starting against Sociedad. Put them in the live chat.
I'm going to go with Alanga, Ronaldo, and Rashford.
Reece?
I have my reasons for it.
I think Ronaldo, Rashford, and Alanga is probably likely. Ronaldo, obviously, in the middle. I was kind of thinking in playing three midfielder, Bruno forming part of the three, so playing Bruno, Ronaldo, Rashford. I'm going to go with that, but playing Bruno sort of in behind more, so rather than like as Dan said, playing on the right. So going with a different sort of midfield slightly, but Bruno forming part of the front three. So I'll say Bruno, Ronaldo, Rashford.
Dan?
I'd go for Ronaldo, Rashford, and Garnacho.
I'm with you, Stu. I'm going Alanga, Ronaldo, and Rashford because I think that's technically full strength. that's the way I'm looking at it. Isn't it? But go on, Stu. What are your reasonings? Go.
Well, look, I need to choose my words carefully here, but I'm not going to.
Don't upset Anton with any Garnacho disrespect, because he is probably tuning into this hoping that we've all gone Garnacho mad.
There's not going to be any disrespect. There's going to be a wise word of warning. He would have infuriated the fuck out of me and I've said this before about Garnacho. I absolutely think he's phenomenal as a footballer, and he's got all this youthful exuberance that you require to be a footballer, but he's got no thought. He's not thinking. He's young, and I get it. Before anyone has a pop at me, you've got to sometimes look at the bigger picture with young players. I think he's a fabulous talent. He really is a fabulous talent, but he gets his head down, he gets the blinkers on, and he starts running and running and running, and then all of a sudden he lifts his head up at that last minute and realizes he's running into a roadblock, and it's too late. It's too late. If you're going to attack the fullback, you're either going to attack it on the diagonal, or you're going to attack it on the outside. You've got to do it, and you've got to keep going. With the pace and the power that he's had, he's a very, very quick lad. His ball retention at his feet, the dribble, when he's not running at full pelt and he's got his feet, it's about 2 inches off his toe. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect to glide around. He's got that wonderful body shape. Absolutely phenomenal. But I'm a right back, and I'm looking forward to him because I'm just going to step in, bang. I really am. I'm just going to step in. That's all I'm going to do, and that's what happened too many times. And the players around him, and I've spoken about this on many occasions, Ben and Reece, because me and Reece have spoken about this a lot because it's something we actually do agree on, is on-field coaching. There's not enough on-field coaching to say to the young lad, when you get it, you haven't always got to go and push. Be careful, drop it 2-3 yards. Try running behind, do something different. That's my only issue with Garnacho. And people would be surprised about that because he was excellent, against Sheriff. He really was. And I'm not doubting his skill by any stretch of imagination. But tomorrow, if you run with Garnacho and we get ball turnover, like happened with Sheriff, you were going to have problems. So my reasoning, I think Alanga's a little bit stronger, a little bit more streetwise, just at this point in time in Garnacho's development. Ronaldo and Rashford gives us a better balance. But I'm not having a pop at Garnacho. I'm just telling you what I would be like. If I'm playing through the middle, I'm going to be chucking my arms and I'm bollocking him. And I'm going to get in the change room. I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again at full time. Because you've got to know and you've got to understand where you are at any given time.
Do you know what I did like today? And is a bit of shithousery from Scott McTominay from the training session. Grabbed his woolly hat off of Garnacho's head and kicked it away. And when you're not fucking wearing that, like you're not getting into that already. And I really like that. Like everyone else, no one else was wearing it, just Garnacho, and sort of just took it off his head and went, you're training with the big boys now.
You've got to understand when you walk into that dressing room, when you walk into that changing room, okay, yes, you've got a right to be there. And you've almost got to walk in there with your dick 30 seconds before you actually walk in there because people need to know what you're like. But he's not there yet. I do like him as a player and I rate him as a player. But honestly, I'm in that dressing room and I'm going absolutely berserk at him. Mate, you've got to be thoughtful. You've got to. I always talk about playing hide and seek with a football. You've got to be careful with it. You've got to protect it. It's like your girlfriend. You're out and about on a Saturday night and you've got a couple of yobs around you. You stand in front of you, make sure she's safe. That's what you have to do with a football every time you get it. So sometimes play it simple, play it safe, and then move yourself into positions.
Well, I'm looking forward to this. It's Dan versus Stu. Dan put Garnacho in his team, didn't you, Dan? So go on then. Tell us. No, Stu, stop it. No, okay. Stop it. You strongly disagree with playing Garnacho. Right, like Dan, you've got Stu over here. He's clearly clueless. Tell him why he's wrong. And he's an idiot. He's a numpty. Everyone in the live chat's going off saying, "Go on, Dan, give it to Stu. Go on, give it to Stu."
They probably are.
Tell us, why should Garnacho start against Sociedad?
I just don't think Alanga's good enough. Simple as. I don't think he's ready. I feel like he's been overhyped. I think he's been, obviously, with the lack of depth United have last season and this season, he was brought through the youth system. I feel like Alanga should be out on loan like Hannibal Mabry, learning his trade in the Championship, like for I don't know, playing for like Reading or somewhere like that. I just don't think that Alanga's game is good enough. I don't think his decision making is good enough. I think all he is just quick. Obviously, I know he's scored some important goals for us last season when he scored that goal against Atletico Madrid in the first leg right at the end of the game. So I feel like when it comes to big moments, Alanga can do it, but I feel like Garnacho shows a lot more promise. I feel like he's a lot more exciting. I feel like Garnacho actually does more. I feel like Garnacho actually runs at defenders, and even if he gets caught out 3 or 4 times, that 5th time it succeeds, he'll try and make that count, really. And I feel like also with Garnacho being more comfortably as a right winger compared to Alanga's a more inverted winger where he likes to cut inside and shoot, and he's not really creative. I feel like Garnacho is both. He can cut in with his right foot and left foot, as well as he's a creative. And I feel like with Ronaldo by his side, we all know how much Garnacho idolizes Ronaldo. So no doubt he'll want to be doing his hero to singing his praises, really. So I feel like Garnacho, he expressed himself enough last game for me in the Europa League. I feel like he deserves a chance. I would have started him against West Ham weekend as well. But obviously Alanga started, and I feel like in that game as well, Alanga didn't do anything. I didn't even know he was on the pitch at all. Yeah, I just like I just said, I don't notice him whatsoever. I feel like Garnacho just did way more on the Thursday night game, and that's why I give Garnacho the chance over Alanga.
Reese, you've gone for neither. So why have you gone for neither? Why have you gone for neither? And feel free to pitch in on the Garnacho versus Alanga debate and Stu v Dan. It's getting intense in here.
I knocked him out in the first round. What are you on about?
Wait a second. I can put music in the background now, can't I? Wait a second.
Can you?
This is like Jake Paul and Anderson Silva all over again.
Oh, Jesus. What that little?
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on, Reece. Pitch in.
Ben's turned into a, what do you call it?
DJ.
A boxing promoter. But
Eddie
yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, Garnacho. Yeah, I love Garnacho. I think he's brilliant. I mean,
Sorry,
I think
Reece,
kind
let
of
me
all-
stop you. Yes. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
God.
yes, yes, yes,
No.
yes, yes, yes.
He's overrated.
Yes, yes. Dan, shut up.
No,
Yes,
no,
yes,
no,
yes,
no,
yes,
no.
yes.
What do we actually like about Palestri, Ben? Can I ask? What has he actually done?
Everything.
What's he doing?
Everything. Everything. He's Diego Maradona, but with a different
Poor
name.
Reece.
Well
Poor
done,
Reece.
Palistri.
Poor Reece.
A different nationality.
Sorry, Reece. Feel free to jump back in because I'm
Oh,
just
no,
fed up
no,
with
no. I mean,
Dan's
I
negativity.
think we've got a lot of young players. I mean, obviously, it's difficult for Ten Hag at the minute because regardless of what we think about any player, he's coming in and he's giving everybody a sort of a flat chance, and equally he's got to kind of, you know, be a little bit cagey. He can't just be giving kids just a chance and risking the fact that he might not actually win this game. So, you know. But no, I mean, I like Garnacho. He was brilliant the other night. Like I say, I went last week and I watched him, and he was fantastic. And the funny thing is, when players are playing well during games, you sort of see the rest of the team sort of notice that, started giving him the ball more and more. So they were sort of trying to work it around to the left and give it to Garnacho again and again and again. And yeah, Stu was right. You know, a couple of times he didn't kind of come off, but there's a couple of times where it did, and he grew in the game. You know, he was trying more things, and we saw that from Ronaldo in his first year at Old Trafford, didn't we? Really, you know, trying things. And first season it didn't sort of come off, but in the second season he improved. He got stronger. He got bigger. He sort of realised what he should have been doing and shouldn't, you know, and what he needed to stop doing. And unless you give these kids a chance, they're never going to know that. They're never going to understand. They're never going to grow. So I think they need to be given more of a chance. I don't think we've seen enough of them coming into the team over the last sort of 12, 18 months. And I don't know if starting Garnacho was the greatest of options, but there's been chances where we could have seen them sort of finish games off or come in the last 20, you know, finish for the last 20 minutes, come in and get some minutes under the belt, and they haven't done. So yeah, I would like to see him play some part of the game tomorrow, if I'm honest. In terms of Langa, I don't know. I think Langa's kind of taking a lot of heat at the minute, but I think we forget that he was another kid that was kind of thrown in a little early. Still a young lad, still got a lot to learn. Yeah, he's quick, he's a little bit direct, and he hasn't got much else to his game. But again, it's another kid who needs to adapt. It's just, but I like him. I think he's a good addition to the squad. I think he brings more than Dan James brings, to be fair, if I'm honest. So yeah. Yeah, but like I say, I like Garnacho, Ben. I think he's brilliant. I'd be unlikely to see him, I think, start the game tomorrow. But I think he might feature if the game goes well. So
I'm just going to keep pushing this, only because I'm just going to look. Right, many people ask why, and what is the reason for Liverpool's capitulation this season? And all I'm saying is they didn't look the same side and haven't looked the same side since Palistri tore a hole in them in pre-season. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. Just I'm putting it out there. The Liverpool's demise.
Incredible run.
What's that?
Did he score a tap in from Bailey's incredible run where Bailey ran the entire edge of the
right?
pitch? And then
no goal is a tap in. FIFA have created this myth around football that a goal is a tap in. You need finesse. Palistri's got finesse in abundance. I mean, there's loads of tap-ins if the goal's shit. But still, because it was a Palistri goal, it was a moment of magic. And that is all I'm saying, okay? It's Palistri season. Do you know what is quite funny, though, about Palistri? Obviously, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, and I don't expect him to beat United for long, potentially, because he's not even really had a crack at the whip. And obviously, the one thing that I always say about young footballers is that there's no better person to make a judgment on a footballer than the coaching staff. And that's when I keep coming back to the Van der Beek conversation. If he was really impressing, he would be starting and he would be playing. But clearly there's something not happening there. The one thing I would say about Palistri that I find really, really interesting is that how Ten Hag likes his wingers is sort of like what Palistri is. He's just really young and quite inexperienced. He does the defensive work and the on the ball work and the off the ball work really, really well. If anything, he does it too much, and he hasn't got that silkiness to his game. He's like Anthony, but without the finesse in so many different ways, or in so many of the same ways. In I suppose I would say he hasn't got the skill about him, and he also doesn't really have the ball in the box. So it's quite interesting to see where Pellistri goes after United. Would it be in January? Would it be in the summer? Would he have another loan? Would he have a chance? I don't know. But there is definitely a talent there.
Well, he's going to the World Cup, isn't
he? He is, and he will win Uruguay the World Cup, like Box said. 100%. 100%. Yeah, look, here we go. Yeah, he obviously played for Alvarez, didn't he? A couple of seasons back. But he played at right wing back more than he played right wing, which again, really, really interesting. Maybe that's where he'll end up. Pellistri struck gold being referred to United, and Ahmad was looking like a Mezzala player. All the best to them. It's interesting, isn't it? They haven't really worked out Pellistri and Ahmad, but we'll wait and see because Ahmad's having a good little time up in Sunderland, and I've got relatives up in Sunderland, and they love him. They absolutely love him.
He's got his act together, hasn't he? To be fair, Ahmad, he's got his act together.
And Medjbury
is with Ahmad Diallo, though. Yeah, he had so much potential. We bought him 30 something million. We bought him for with all the add-ons and stuff. Yeah. And he showed so much potential. Then he obviously had his loan spell at Rangers that devalued him, and now he's at Sunderland. And...
Yeah, but you say showed and had. He's still only 20 years old.
Yeah, but. I mean, yeah,
there's still a long way to go, and let's not forget coming in and playing first team football at Manchester United at a young age, like isn't as easy as maybe it sounds. Even if we love playing the young players, like it takes time. You know, you've got to have a crack at the whip and a fair go at it. He, if anything, maybe needed earlier loan spells than he had. He should have gone straight back out on loan instead of coming in and wasting a season around the club. But yeah, I think we'll end on some predictions. We've had loads of debates tonight. Thanks to the guys in the live chat. Make sure you like and share the video. And if you loved it, tell everyone that you love it. Tell everyone on Twitter, your social media platforms. Tell them how amazing we are so that we can get some new people across and involved with the shows. Dan's going to be back on Friday with our preview for the who we got Villa, the weekend game. We might be doing a watch along again tomorrow. We'll wait and see. It might be Anton and Connor on that, so we'll let you guys know tomorrow if that is definitely going ahead. And then obviously we'll be back with last word on Sunday night as well from 10 p.m. after the Villa game. So make sure you join us for that. That's right. Villa's Sunday, isn't it? I'm sure it is.
I can't remember.
Villa Sunday.
Yeah, it's away anyway, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah, maybe away.
I'm 2 o'clock, isn't it?
Sunday at 2, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get some score predictions. Stu, go on. What's the score going to be?
I think we'll win, but it won't be enough. 2-1.
2-1. So we'll end up finishing second.
Won't be enough. Yeah.
Reese.
I'm going to say 2-0. I think we'll get a 2. I think it'll be 2-0.
Yeah. Dan. Oh yeah, you said 4-1, didn't you earlier?
4-1. You've got to go with 4-1. Yeah.
I'm also going to go 2-0. I think we'll get the job done. But I can't see us. If we score, I love it if we do score 4 goals. We do it, but I don't know if we will do.
Yeah, be interesting to see. Just to rub salt on the wounds too as well. Garnacho's going to score over Alanga.
You two, honestly.
This is getting a little bit intense now. I'm feeling a bit awkward, aren't you, Reese?
I'd put him on his peg.
To be honest, that'd be even better.
I'd have put him on his peg in his dressing room. I'd have got him up, put him on his peg. Hang there. Think about what you should have done, mate. That's what I'd have done. Actually, to be fair, I've gone on record as saying I would have done exactly the same with Iqbal in pre-season when he did the round the world. I'd have said, yeah, pretty good during the match, but full time, I'd have had him. Exactly the same with our good old friend Anthony when he did his around the world. I'd let it go on the pitch, but I'd have had him at half time and again at full time.
My best friend Box has said 2-0 United, Ronaldo and Maguire. Box, you're the best. John Camo says 2-0 Rashford, first goal, Ronaldo 80 plus minutes, and Jarvis has gone for a 3-0. So there we go. Jarvis thinks there'll be goals as well. Jarvis is normally right, so we'll wait and see.
He is. He knows his stuff, Jarvis.
Leave a comment, guys.
He'll go for a clean sheet as well.
Yeah, you said 4-1.
You said 4-1. You can't change that.
Can't back out now. We've all got it.
I don't believe in our defence. I feel like we will slip up. I feel like we'll score. We'll go 3-0 up, and then United will concede a goal because we just lack concentration. Then we'll score the fourth.
I mean, talking about clean sheets and our defence is a whole other different subject, but I don't think we've seen a lot to not trust our defence recently. But I'm going to leave it at that. I think if there's one area of the pitch that I'm quite comfortable with, it's our defence at the moment. But that's a whole different. I think you spoke about it on Anything Goes, didn't you, Reece, on Monday about the lack of goals we're conceding and clean sheets, if I remember right.
We're difficult to play. It's usually where you start, isn't it? We're difficult to play against at the minute. I'm sorry, I'm too sort of distracted with that Jaguar behind Dan. It's not even.
Look at that.
Our defence is only good because of grip socks. Don't forget, lads. Grip socks is the reason why.
Let's leave it there. Guys, thank you for watching. Stu, Dan, and Reece, thank you for joining me. That was a really good fun show tonight. And we'll see you guys soon. Speak to you in a bit. Bye for now.